animated films function under the same compositional rules.
Oh, well,
Let's look at an example to better illustrate this. In this scene from Coco, Miguel watches a film starring his idol. The medium shot composition accommodates quite a bit. The props from Miguel's shrine, the detail on the TV screen, and Miguel's reactions to it. It's an intimate moment as we observe Miguel's joy, along with the objects of his affection in a single frame.
Follow my heart. You know that feeling?
So remember, the typical composition of a medium shot starts above the waist, but below the chest, and ends just above the head. Use it when you need to dig into a subject's eyes without losing their physicality or environment, or utilize a true middle ground approach that is neither jarring nor especially dramatic. Our next subject, medium close-up shot, MCU. When a shot frames a subject from mid-chest to just above their head, it is referred to as a medium close-up. Medium close-ups are about reducing distraction and prioritizing story and character details.
why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
Use it when you need to get intimate with a subject without losing their physicality.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Here, the villainous Thanos snaps his fingers during the climactic moments of Avengers Endgame. With this shot size, we have room for the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos' look of full satisfaction in thinking he has won. But when he fails, this medium close-up is designed to also capture his reaction. Remember, a medium close-up is roughly head to chest. Are you ready for it? It's the close-up. See you.
Here's Johnny.
Of course, the most powerful visual weapon for highlighting a change in emotion or dramatic beat on screen. Close-ups are most often arranged at eye level, better to dig into the windows of a soul. In this shot size, we have a front row seat for a character's thoughts and feelings.
Who is it?
Will you help me?
Yes, anything.
The close-up is about empathy and illustrates how dramatically effective it can be in a time of decision or anxiety. Our final category, extreme close-up shot, ECU. An extreme close-up, or ECU, frames a subject to isolate a specific area. This could be lips, ears, or nose, but the eyes are typically the focus. Like here in Kill Bill Volume 1. As the bride is swarmed by the crazy 88, we cut back and forth between their entry points and her frantic eyes. When the function of a specific prop or an intimate detail is necessary, filmmakers will often rely on the insert shot. Inserts are most commonly used to highlight and isolate something crucial to the narrative. So remember, an extreme close-up or an insert shot is one of the greatest tools for emphasis. It is the most intimate, dramatic, and potentially startling of all shot sizes. This is our shot list made in Studio Binder so far. It has all of the most common shot sizes you can reference the next time you need to create a shot list. You can find a link to the full shot list in the description. If you're looking for shot listing software to automate the process,
and this is third video जिसमें आपको लाइवली ये शॉट्स को एडिट करके आपको क्या सीक्वेंस मिलेगा ये पता चलेगा.
Hey, how's it going? Parker Welbeck here with FullTimeFilmmaker.com, and today I'm joined by one of our team members, Jake Weisler.
Sorry, this is not the video. Different video होगा. Not this. एक मिनट. सुनो.
Hey.
Just a second. मैं आपको रिव्यू करता हूँ. इस पे नहीं है वो शॉट.
Today, we talked about the different types of shots that you can get with your camera. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tomorrow's Filmmakers. My name is Justice McCraney, and today we're going to be talking about types of shots. Now, this isn't camera movement, this isn't camera angles or anything like that. This is different types of shots that you can get with your camera, so that whenever you guys are storyboarding, writing a script, whatever, and the scene calls for a full shot or a medium close-up or a master shot, you guys will know what that means. So let's talk about all those different types of shots and then also how to put them into a scene. So first off, let's just start by showing you the different types of shots and what they're called, starting from really far away and getting really close. So the first shot is called an extreme wide shot. And this isn't just kind of wide, this is really, really wide. This could be used to establish a location, show that he's on a battlefield, show where our character is in relation to somebody else. This is a really, really wide shot. And the next shot is just a wide shot. So we had an extreme wide shot, now we're at a wide shot, which is a little bit closer than the extreme wide shot, but it's not just seeing his full body. You're seeing a lot more than that because it's still really wide. The next shot is called a full shot, and this is a little bit closer, but you can still see our entire character's body. You can see from his toes all the way to his head, like a full body shot. That's why it's called a full shot. After the full shot, we have the medium full shot, which is a little bit closer. You can see about knees up on our subject. Then you have the medium shot, which is going to be one half of our subject. So it's going to be the hips up. You'll be able to see one half of our subject. Then you're going to have a medium close-up to our subject. And that's going to be a little bit closer than a medium shot, but it's not going to be a close-up. It's going to be a medium close-up, so it's going to be in between. So it's going to be about chest up on our subject. And after the medium close-up, we cut to a close-up, which is just going to be our subject's head. His entire head from the neck to the top of his head. And after the close-up, we punch in even farther to have an extreme close-up. And this is going to be focusing on one aspect of our character's face. In this instance, we're focusing on his eyes. That would be an extreme close-up. If we wanted to focus on his mouth or his hair or his nose or a scratch on his face or whatever you want to focus on, that would be an extreme close-up. It's not showing his full head. You're punching in even more to focus on one area of his face or an object or a situation or a person or something like that.
That's why I did that.
So look here, look here, look here, look here, look here, look here, look here. So just an overview, if you're standing back really far and looking at a person and you start cutting in, you're first going to have an extreme wide shot, a wide shot, a full shot, a medium full shot, a medium shot, a medium close-up, a close-up, and then an extreme close-up. So I know that it's pretty simple and kind of just like, okay, I got that. But I want you guys to understand what they're called so that if you're writing your script and you say, hey, I want the camera to go from a medium full shot to a close-up, you'll know exactly what that means. That means medium full shot that's going to be from knees up to a close-up, just his head. And to go along with that, we also have a couple more shots. One is called a cut-in. And this would be cutting into a closer shot of what our subject is looking at. In this case, it's his phone. So we're at his face, he looks down, then we cut in to what he's looking at, his phone. If he has something in his hand, if he's looking at something on the ground, you're cutting in closer to what our subject is looking at. That's called a cut in. If he was looking at something else, we wouldn't zoom out and look at that. That would be called a cut away, which is the next shot. Now this is if the actor looks over and sees something, we cut away to see what our actor is looking at. So a cut in is whenever we come closer to what the subject is looking at. A cut away is when the subject looks away from the screen. We cut away from our subject to see what he's looking at. So the final shot is called a POV shot or a point of view shot. And this is a really cool shot. This is like looking through the character's eyes and seeing the scene from his perspective. Now, this doesn't mean it's like a GoPro fisheye look, where you can see everything like peripheral vision. No, that would just look really strange. This could be zoomed in, it could be wide, it could be any way you want it to be, but it's just looking from our character's perspective and through his eyes of what he's seeing. Keep going. Oh, that's not usable. So that's like the different types of shots with one person, zooming in, cut away, cut in, point of view. But also if there's two people, we first have something called a double, which means that this shows both the people in the frame. You know, you can see where they are. You can kind of see that they're looking at each other. From a double, we might cut to an over the shoulder shot, which means it's looking over the shoulder of one subject onto the face of the other, you know, to show that they're in a conversation, to show that they're engaged in the conversation with each other. From an over the shoulder shot, we might cut to a single, which means it's still focusing on one character and they're still in that conversation, but you're not seeing the other character's shoulder on the side of the frame. Maybe you want to cut in closer because it's an intense moment or something like that. And from that, we could cut to a close over the shoulder, which means that it's the same shot, it's just a little bit tighter and a little bit more zoomed in, maybe to give an effect of suspense or something's about to happen. So now that we understand the different types of shots, you know, with one person, with two people, cut-ins, cutaways, over the shoulder, all those different types of shots, there's two shots that you definitely need to know because they're very important to help your audience understand the scene. The first shot is called an establishing shot. Now, this establishing shot establishes where your characters are, where they're going. You know, it's a wider shot of your two characters talking, so you know where they're at. Now, an establishing shot doesn't actually have to show people. It can just show a building, show a carnival, to show that they went to a carnival. You know, if your character says, hey, let's go to a carnival, and the next scene is a close-up of their face at a carnival, you're like, wait, where are they at exactly? But you first show a wide shot of the carnival to show that, hey, they're at the carnival now, and then you can start cutting in closer. An establishing shot can show people to show where they are in their location, or it can just show a house to show that, hey, the characters are inside the house, we're about to go into the house, and they can start talking. So an establishing shot shows where your characters are, where they're going, so it doesn't confuse your audience. Then the next shot is called a master shot. And the master shot is very important because it shows the geography and where each character is in relation to the other character. It's kind of like a double, like we talked about before. It shows where the two characters are in relation to each other. One might be sitting down, one might be standing, one might come around the corner, one might be in the kitchen while the other's in the living room. You want to show where they are before you start cutting in close to their faces. Because if you don't really know where they are, then one could be talking and the other could be talking and it's just close-ups, but you don't realize that they're on opposite ends of the house. But first we do a master shot to show where they are in relation to each other. Then we can start cutting in closer. So an establishing shot shows where the characters are going, where they're headed, what building they're in, if they're outside. But then a master shot shows where they are in relation to each other. Then you can start cutting in closer. So before you start a scene, before you start a dialogue scene, first you want to establish where the characters are. Okay, they're in this huge building. Then you want to cut to a master shot, show, okay, they're sitting here, one's on this side, one's on this side. Then from then from then that's not right. Then you can drop the master shot and start cutting in to over the shoulder shots, tight close-ups, singles, whatever way you want to tell your story. But first you have to let the audience know where your characters are. So now that you guys understand like the different types of shots, from one person to two people to establishing shots to master shots, I want to show you guys what those shots look like in an actual scene. So as you can see, different types of shots have different names. They're used for different purposes. They're used for different reasons. So I hope this video has really helped you out on understanding these types of shots. So whenever you're storyboarding, writing a script, whatever it is, you know what they're called. Hey, we're going to do an establishing shot. Then we're going to cut to a close-up. Then we're going to cut to a medium full shot. And you'll know what those mean. So go get your brothers and sisters and friends and start practicing all of these shots with establishing.
Okay, so back to again. Just a sec. Where is my PPT? PPT दिख रहा है ना मेरा पावर पॉइंट?
Yes, sir.
तो नेक्स्ट इज अभी हम लोगों ने देखा डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स क्या होते हैं. नाउ डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स. तो कैमरा एंगल्स इज आल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आप कौन सा कैमरा एंगल किस चीज के लिए यूज करते हो. आई लेवल शॉट क्या होता है, हाई एंगल शॉट क्या होता है, लो एंगल कैच शॉट होता है, और उसका एग्जैक्ट मीनिंग क्या होता है फिल्म मेकिंग के अंदर. तो व्हाट इज डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स देखे, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स. मे बी नेक्स्ट सेशन में हम लोग देखेंगे डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कट्स क्या होते हैं, एडिट में क्या क्या टाइप के कट्स यूज होते हैं. तो डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स. तो फर्स्ट है आपका आई लेवल शॉट. फर्स्ट कैमरा एंगल इज द आई लेवल शॉट एंड दिस इज व्हेन योर सब्जेक्ट is at eye level. An eye level shot can be result is a natural perspective, the mimic how to see the people in real life, or eye line connecting with their, and it can be break down boundaries. तो eye level क्या है, मीन्स दो कैरेक्टर जो हम लोग शूट करते हैं. तो नॉर्मली जब लाइव शूट करते हैं दो कैरेक्टर, तो जिस कैरेक्टर का क्लोजअप शॉट है तो उसका को आर्टिस्ट वहां पे नहीं होता है. बट अगर दोनों का एडिट में अगर दोनों का आई लाइन अगर मैच नहीं होगा तो योर सीन में कुछ डिफरेंट लगेगा कि मैं देख रहा हूँ एक लेवल पे और वो कैरेक्टर रिएक्ट कर रहा है डिफरेंट आई लेवल पे, तो वो शॉट दोनों एक दूसरे के साथ कनेक्ट नहीं होंगे. तो यहाँ पे देख रहे हो, तो ये है आपका आई लेवल. सेकेंड एंगल इज योर लो लेवल. तो लो लेवल क्या है, तो लो एंगल शॉट frames the subject from the below or their island. This camera shot most often emphasize the power of dynamic between character. मतलब लो एंगल से क्या दिखा सकते हैं, कैरेक्टर को डोमिनेटिंग दिखा सकते हैं, कैरेक्टर को थोड़ा सा लार्जर देन लाइफ दिखा सकते हैं, कैरेक्टर का एटीट्यूड डिफरेंट लेवल पे दिखा सकते हैं. दिस कैमरा शॉट मोस्ट ऑफन एम्फसाइज पावर डायनामिक बिटवीन कैरेक्टर, और लो एंगल शॉट on one character is often paired with the high angle shot on each character. Low angle camera shots are perfect camera angle for significant superiority or elite feeling of fear or dread. ठीक है, दिस इज आई लेवल, मतलब लो लेवल लो एंगल शॉट. देन है आपका, तो दिस इज योर लो एंगल शॉट, this is your high angle shot. A high angle shot, the camera point down at your subject is usually create a feeling inferiority or looking down or the subject, but again with every other camera angle there are many applications. तो बेसिकली यहाँ पे अगर देख रहा है तो आप देखते हो स्टार वॉर्स फिल्म्स में लाइक, या फिर डिफरेंट, तो आपका एक कैरेक्टर इज काफी ह्यूज दिखाना है तो उसको लो एंगल्स दिखा सकते हो, और उस कैरेक्टर के सामने अगर आप डिफरेंट कैरेक्टर लो दिखाना है तो उसको हाई एंगल मींस हाई एंगल से शूट कर सकते हो. तो दोनों कैरेक्टर में डिफरेंशिएट बेसिकली पता चल जाएगा. अगर दोनों कैरेक्टर को मैं अगर एक आई लेवल पे शूट करता तो दोनों का कैरेक्टर में के डिफरेंशिएशन आप नहीं दिखा सकते हो. वन इज एग्रेसिव कैरेक्टर और वन इज थोड़ा सा डरा हुआ कैरेक्टर. तो ये हम लोग डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स स्क्रीन पे शो करते हैं. देन cowboy shot हम लोगों ने ऑलरेडी देखा है. तो cowboy shot is when a camera is roughly west up hip level shot or often used when one subject reaches while to the other. Hip level shot can be extremely useful camera angle for when you have action that occur near the hip, like weapon being drawn or something reaching into pocket. That's why it's known as a cowboy shot. तो ये हम लोगों ने ऑलरेडी देखा है cowboy shot, and this is a straight angle, मतलब straight and not eye level angle, but is a थोड़ा सा मिड वे में कैमरा प्लेस करके हम लोग कैरेक्टर को काउबॉय इसमें शूट करते हैं। उसके बाद next is your knee level, ground level, shoulder level, Dutch angle. So this is different type of angle. Knee level angle. This is when your camera height is about as low as the subject is. They can be emphasize character superiority if paired with low angle. It is not extreme as ground level, but gets the some feeling across. तो मतलब कोई चल रहा है या इस टाइप का, तो ग्राउंड लेवल, तो उसके क्या ग्राउंड लेवल और थोड़ा लो एंगल होगा। Ground level shot is when the camera height is on ground level with your subject. This camera angle used a lot to be feature character walking without revealing their face. Like मेरे को suspense create करना है तो उसका footsteps दिखा दिए, then तो this is a ground level shot हो गया face, but it can help like more active and the use of character performance to be built an idea. तो ग्राउंड लेवल का मैंने कैमरा एंगल दिखा दिया, देन एक्सट्रीम क्लोजअप दिखा दिया, मे बी उसके सनग्लासेस दिखा दिए, उसके वॉच दिखा दिया, उसके फुटस्टेप्स दिखा दिए, एंड उसको रिवील करोगे तो यहाँ पे आप क्या क्रिएट करते हो, सस्पेंस क्रिएट करते हो। डायरेक्टली कैरेक्टर को रिवील नहीं करते हो, बट उसका डिफरेंट एंगल से और एज में जाके आप कैरेक्टर को रिवील करते हो। देन शोल्डर लेवल शॉट, और शोल्डर लेवल शॉट इज कैमरा एंगल इज दैट एज high as your character subject shoulder. Shoulder level shots are actually much more standard than any eye level shot, which can make your actor seem shorter than relatively. ठीक है, दिस इज डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स, बट इस कैमरा एंगल्स को लेके एक मीनिंगफुल फिल्म कैसे बनती है, एक सीन कैसे बनता है, बिकॉज कैमरा एंगल रिलेट टू योर स्टोरीज, शॉर्ट एंगल रिलेट टू योर स्टोरीज। तो ये तो Dutch angle, from Dutch angle the camera is slanted to one side, which the horizon line tilted in the way you can create and see. Okay, so this is basically Dutch angle, camera movement थोड़ा change होता है, तो this is a basically different type of shot. Why I'm showing these shots or camera angles, because ये shots camera angles एडिटर को समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि मैं कौन से टाइम पे क्या कैमरा एंगल यूज करूंगा, क्या शॉट यूज करूंगा, उसका मीनिंग क्या है, कौन से शॉट के बाद क्या शॉट्स आएगा। यस, इस बेसिकली डायरेक्शन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, बट एज एन एडिटर एडिटर क्या करता है, जो डायरेक्टर ने शूट किया है उसी शॉट्स को, उसी कैमरा एंगल्स को एडिट टाइमलाइन पे लगाता है, बट उस शॉट का मीनिंग क्या है, because edit is not just about cut. Edit हर cut के पीछे there is a meaning. When to cut, when not to cut, what shot to use, what shot not to use. तो when डायरेक्टर क्या करता है, डायरेक्टर को एक शॉट अगर शूट करना है तो मे भी मल्टीपल कैमरा एंगल से शूट करके लेके आएगा, बट एडिट में क्या यूज होगा, इस एडिटर सिलेक्ट करेगा कि उसको कौन सा कैमरा एंगल या कौन सा शॉट यूज करना है। दैट्स व्हाई मैंने पहले भी बोला फिल्म बनती है एडिटिंग टेबल पे। व्हाई? बिकॉज डायरेक्टर लो एंगल भी, मिड शॉट भी लेके आएगा, लॉन्ग शॉट भी लेके आएगा, क्लोजअप भी लेके आएगा, या डिफरेंट कैमरा एंगल्स भी लेके आएगा, बट एडिट पे क्या यूज होगा ये डिसाइड करता है एडिटर, एंड हर एक शॉट का मीनिंग क्या है, तो ये एडिटर, दैट्स व्हाई एडिटर को पता होना चाहिए डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स का मीनिंग क्या है, कैमरा एंगल का मीनिंग क्या है, कौन सा कैमरा एंगल दिखाने से सीन पे क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा। तो edit is not just about to know the software, know the machine. Edit is all about creativity, different type of shots. Editing is all about storytelling. जो डायरेक्टर का विजन है ये एडिटर स्क्रीन पे दिखाता है, तो दैट्स व्हाई एडिटर को एक डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स और एंगल्स पता होना चाहिए। देन ओवरहेड और बर्ड्स आई व्यू शॉट, या फिर अगर आप एडिटर डायरेक्टर के साथ बैठता है एंड डायरेक्टर आपको बोलता है कि एक मीडियम के बाद ओटीए शॉट लगा देना, या एमयू शॉट लगा देना, या एमसी शॉट लगा देना, या बर्ड्स आई शॉट लगा देना, या हाई एंगल लगा देना, या टिंटेड एंगल लगा देना, या जे कट करना, या एल कट करना, मैच कट करना, तो दिस इज ऑल फिल्म लैंग्वेज। तो ये एडिटर को फिल्म लैंग्वेज पता होना चाहिए कि एडिटर क्या बात कर रहा है, उसका मीनिंग क्या है, जे कट मीनिंग क्या है, लॉन्ग के बाद क्लोजअप, क्लोजअप के बाद जंप कट्स क्या है, तो नेक्स्ट सेशन में मे बी हम लोग देखेंगे डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कट्स क्या होते हैं. बट नाउ इज ओवर द हेड और बर्ड्स आई शॉट. Or the over the head shot is from above looking down on the subject. These are typically shots from 90-degree above. Anything less might be considered as a high angle shot. Overhead shots are great for providing perspective on scene, but not just, and perspective is often used either the nature or something divine point of view. Then ये आपका होगा पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. आज के डेट में हम लोग काफी सारे क्या देखते हैं, ड्रोन शॉट देखते हैं या एरियल शॉट देखते हैं. तो उसके बाद एरियल शॉट, whatever wherever taken from the helicopter or drone is captured from way up high. It is establishes large expenses or scenery. Many of the helicopter shot in Black Hawk Down are एरियल शॉट. तो एरियल शॉट बेसिकली हम लोग ड्रोन के थ्रू यूज करते हैं. तो काफी कम शॉट इसमें मैंने कैमरा एंगल्स कवर किए हैं. इसके अलावा काफी सारे कैमरा एंगल्स हैं जो मैं आपको वीडियो के थ्रू दिखा दूंगा. बिकॉज जब तक आप देखोगे नहीं स्क्रीन के सामने कि बर्ड्स आई शो एज अ वीडियो में कैसे दिखता है, एज अ सीन में कैसे दिखता है, इट इज लिटिल बिट डिफिकल्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड. तो ये
Different types of camera shots help communicate different things like perspective, story, and emotion. There are two main ways that shots produce these effects. There are shots that focus mainly on the subject in a more straightforward manner, and then there are the shots that utilize the camera's angle to produce a different type of effect and feeling. Let's take a look. So here we see our subject in a regular straight shot. The camera is well balanced, and we're using a medium shot for framing. We covered medium shots and other types in an earlier video. But what if we wanted to make the subject look somewhat smaller, maybe indicating their lack of power or that something might be wrong? For that, we might want to use a high angle, where we place the camera slightly above the subject and then tilt down, pointing towards them. Now, if you want the opposite effect, making them look larger, more powerful, and imposing, you could just position the camera below the subject, looking upwards at them. Another interesting angle to try out is what's called an overhead shot, where the camera is positioned directly over the subject and shoots down towards the ground. This type of shot can create a sense of loneliness and a feeling of isolation. Another extreme camera angle is to shoot from below the subject. The camera is positioned directly below, pointing upwards, giving the subject a sense of importance or superiority. In this example, the person looks as if he might be stepping on the viewer from a position of power. Need an even more extreme and off-putting camera shot? Try the Dutch angle. This shot consists of rotating the camera to the side, making the horizon line more angled. With this shot, you can indicate that the subject might be unstable, unpredictable, or lost in fantasy. However, be careful when using this or other shots where you tilt the horizon line. Make sure it feels intentional and not like an operator's error. Remember, there are composition rules for photographs featuring horizons. We covered them in a previous video. Another thing to try is to combine different angles with different shots in order to find exactly what you need. For example, this photo uses an extreme close-up combined with a low angle to make a pretty interesting shot. So now that you know the different types of shots and angles you can use, you should feel confident knowing that you'll be able to find that right shot for every situation.
GCF Global.
okay. Now another video.
Films are made up of sequences. Sequences are made of scenes. And scenes are made up of shots. In the previous episode of this series, we went over how to frame your subjects, to isolate individuals, or create relationships. But as shot size and framing are decided, you'll need to consider camera height, specifically the angle of the camera. This is episode 3 of the shot list. Camera angles. If shot size and framing are used to isolate what we are looking at, camera angles are all about how we are meant to perceive them. That adds yet another layer of meaning to every camera shot. We'll be looking at 9 different types of camera angles. As we cover each camera angle and technique, we'll be filling out a shot list using Studio Binder that you can download and reference. Now, let's begin with our first camera angle, the low angle. Any shot that finds itself below a subject's eye line, looking up at them, is a low angle shot. Low angle shots are typically used to make a subject look more powerful, perfect for heroes and villains alike. The degree can be subtle or extreme. Low angles are not confined to human subjects like in 2001, but the effect is the same. Let's look at the scene.
And I love Mufasa. Man, I hate lions. Bushy and hairy. And man, are they ugly.
Oh, surely these lions.
Oh, Scars, just you.
Consider this low angle shot of Scar. Everything about this shot spells villainy. The color, the smoke, the darkness, the expression. But it is the low angle that brings it all together. For more on the low angle shot, check the description for our video where we break down how to use a low angle in more detail. Up next, a complementary angle often paired with the low angle, the high angle shot. While low angle shots can pump a character up, high angle shots can beat them down.
You arise from the ashes.
High and low angle shots are often paired in the same scene to heighten the imbalance of power between subjects. High angles are typically used to diminish a character, making them appear weak or vulnerable. An extreme variation of the high angle is the aerial shot, typically used to establish environments, cities, landscapes, or to present characters moving through a larger world.
What, you saw her drive through?
For a rather extreme example of a high angle shot, we look to the Avengers. A powerful hero needs a powerful villain. And what better way to challenge our muscle-bound protagonists than a threat that dwarfs them? In the description, you'll find a link to our high-angle video essay where we break down how to use this towering shot to convey narrative or character details and elicit a viewer's emotional response. When high angles approach 90 degrees above the subject, they become the overhead shot. An overhead shot, also known as a bird's eye view or God's eye view, finds the camera directly above the subject, shooting straight down. Overhead shots are great for showcasing complex movements, and they could suggest a connection to the divine, or to capture the horrific details of a crime scene. Consider this moment from The Master. Freddy lays above his fellow sailors, most likely drunk and unconscious, but the shot is presented without context. All we see is a character who is disconnected. More ways than one. Now, an angle that puts us off balance. The Dutch angle. The Dutch angle shot skews the horizontal axis of the frame for an off-kilter image that produces a variety of effects. Dutch angle can create a sense of unease, mania.
Fact, Jim, fact. If you don't buy things, toilet paper, new cars, computerized blenders, electrically operated sexual devices, zero systems with brain
Terror or bewilderment.
You're worried about me. Why?
A Dutch angle can also be used to magnify tension. Do the right thing. Director Spike Lee uses Dutch angles to intensify the vitriol between embittered characters. As the racial tensions rise to a boiling point, so does the angle of the tilt. But there are nuances to properly set up a Dutch angle for maximum impact. Take the description to our video essay where we break down Brian De Palma's Dutch angle from this scene in Mission Impossible.
You want to shake hands with the devil? That's fine with me. I just want to make sure that you do it in hell.
Moving on. The eye level shot. Shooting an eye level is perhaps the most commonly used camera height. For the audience, it is the most natural height to regard a character. An eye level shot doesn't impose judgment on a character in the way a high or low angle shot does. But that doesn't mean it can't be engaging or dynamic.
An IPO is an initial public offering. It's the first time a stock is offered for sale to the general population.
In The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort delivers this monologue straight into the camera at eye level.
Look, I know you're not following what I'm saying anyway, right? That's okay. That doesn't matter. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely not.
The eye level shot, along with breaking the fourth wall, creates an instant connection to Jordan and his scheme.
Oh,
For more on the fourth wall, check the description for a video essay on how it can be used to create an instant rapport with your characters. Now, if we drop just a little below the eyes, we land at our next camera height. The shoulder level shot. If eye level is the most common and neutral shot height, then shoulder level is the runner-up. The lower position gives the illusion of a slightly low-angle shot without its heavier connotations. Shoulder level shots are often used during conversations and frequently become an over-the-shoulder shot, or OTS. They can also emphasize a height difference, which translates visually to a power difference.
Oh, damn.
In a romantic situation, the barely upturned eye line can enhance an affectionate glance. In our OTS video, we break down this scene from Westworld.
In the beginning, I imagined things would be perfectly balanced.
To illustrate how camera placement can connect or disconnect your characters. On to our next camera angle. The hip level shot. The hip level shot can be found in every genre, but it makes its home in the Western, often in conjunction with a cowboy shot, which we covered in episode 1, Shot Size. The principal reason for this is because gun holsters rest at hip height. Let's look at Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Leone jumps between various hip-level holster shots and eye-level extreme close-ups to create an iconic sequence that is as exciting as it is tense. Just below the hips is our next camera height, the knee level shot. The knee level shot, of course, sees the camera placed at a subject's knee height. Knee-high shots often find themselves doubling as low angles.
but this one is a madman.
A knee level shot can be a great way to track through an environment following a character. And can be a good way to showcase character details that might be missed in a wider shot. Like in this moment from Forrest Gump. This perfectly chosen knee level shot gives us a front row seat to his personal triumph. Run, Forrest, run. Now, our final category, the ground level shot. A ground level shot finds the camera placed all the way down on the ground, or sometimes even slightly below ground. Ground level shots often double as low angles if there is any degree of upward tilt. Shooting from ground level can be a stylish way to track a character's movement through a scene, or to capture details within the setting. The Shining features one of the most iconic ground level shots of all time. The shot is full of dynamic movement as we track behind Danny's tricycle. The iconic carpet pattern and engrossing sound design keep us intrigued by this lengthy shot. It's haunting, even before we get to room 237. So when you sit down to create your shot list, consider how the camera angle or height affects the messaging. Be creative with your choices. Don't just settle for what's expected. And don't worry about remembering all of these camera angles. If you're using our shot listing software, all of these options are built in. Mix and match, try different combinations of shot sizes, framing, and angles. Get creative. You can find a link to Studio Binder in the description. It's free to get started. You'll also find
So this is your different type of camera angles. वही अभी हम लोग देखेंगे.
Hey, how's it going?
Different
Parker Wallbeck here
live
with
span.
fulltimefilmmaker.com, and today I'm joined by one of our
ये
team
सब
members,
shots
Jake
जब
White.
drawing करते हैं तो impact कैसे पड़ता है आपके scene में, ठीक है?
And in this video, we're going to be sharing with you our 12 different camera angles that you want to use to enhance your films and help bring more emotion to your stories. One of the biggest questions I get asked is which camera angle should I use and when? So we're looking to answer that question today. But first, let's answer the why. Why are camera angles important?
A few reasons. Number one being perspective. By shooting from different angles, you can give your audience multiple perspectives of what they're looking at to help them understand the scene and feel more connected to it. Number two, emotion. Different camera angles can help you convey different emotions, as we'll talk about more in just a moment. And number three, editing. Editing your video becomes a lot easier when you have multiple angles to choose from, which will ultimately help you tell a better story.
Now that you understand the why, let's talk about what are the 12 most popular camera angles you'll see in everyday films and when you'd want to use them. You have your wide shot, your long shot, your medium shot, the cowboy shot, a tight or close-up shot, a detail or extreme close-up shot, a low angle, a high angle, a Dutch angle, an over the shoulder, a POV shot, and a cutaway shot. A wide shot is usually captured on a wider angle lens so as to see more of your surroundings and is more frequently used when you're wanting to establish a location so the viewer can understand where the scene is taking place. Wide shots can also be used to portray emotion like loneliness, insignificance, or feelings of being removed from the action.
A long shot is also used to establish location, but with a bigger emphasis on your subject filling the entire frame, usually showing their full body. This look is best created using entire focal length and shooting from a distance.
A medium shot is usually from the waist up and is used to help the viewer focus in on what your subject is doing or saying. This shot is also great for helping the viewer feel as if they are close to the subject, because a medium shot most closely represents the distance you view people from as you're having a conversation with them.
A cowboy shot is in between a long and a medium shot, framed from the mid-thigh up, called so because of its popular use in Western films. This would be used instead of a medium shot if you need to show detail around the waist like a freaking gun.
A tight shot is often just the head and shoulders of your subject, used mainly for dialogue or to show the detailed expression of your subject. Tighter shots are usually used for important or intense or intimate pieces of dialogue or action to help the viewer know that they should really pay attention to what's being said. And tight shots are typically best shot on tighter focal lengths, like around 50 to 100 millimeter.
A detail or extreme close-up shot is used to put emphasis or importance on a specific detail in your image. Detail shots are a great way to create mystery and depth in a story to help draw the viewer's attention to the common theme. And again, detail shots are typically best shot on tighter focal lengths like 50 to 100 millimeters or macro lenses.
A low camera angle is used to make your subject appear larger than life and to portray power and dominance. Low camera angles can also be made to portray wonder and majesty as long as your subject is smaller than what surrounds them in your image.
A high camera angle does the exact opposite by portraying your subject as weak and inferior or smaller and vulnerable.
Now, a Dutch angle is basically any time you slightly tilt the horizon of your frame and is usually used to convey an uneasy emotion like something isn't quite right, basically giving the feeling like the world is on its side. Dutch angles can be artfully utilized to tell us that something is wrong.
Over-the-shoulder shots are exactly how they sound. When you have two subjects talking to one another, you put the camera behind the shoulder of one of the two, placing one in the foreground, giving the perspective as if you are the person that is being talked to.
A POV or point of view shot depicts an angle that shows what a character is looking at. This type of shot allows the viewer to take on the perspective of the character and begin to understand their state of mind on a more personal level. This is commonly used in action or sports scenes to help give the audience the thrill of being in the driver's seat, and is usually shot on a wide angle lens so that you can see more of your surroundings.
A cutaway shot is an interruption of a continuously filmed scene by inserting a view of something completely different. Cutaways are great to help transition to new scenes or to show side stories happening at the same time as your main story.
So there you have a quick look at the 12 most popular camera angles. Let's now give you some examples of how we apply each of these angles into different styles of films. In our first example, we're going to show you a scene shot from all 12 camera angles we just mentioned to show you how much more life it brings to your film when you utilize camera angles. Check it out. As you can see, by adding multiple camera angles, it creates a variety of perspectives, adds more emotion of intensity, and it helps the editor more easily piece together a compelling story. Now, of course, we also added slow motion, sound effects, sound design, a letterbox, a color grade, and so on. But camera angles were a huge part of making this sequence more cinematic.
Be careful though, adding more camera angles isn't always better. Before you start shooting extra camera angles for your scene, first ask yourself, does this angle add or take away from the story and emotion I'm trying to convey? Let's look at a second example where multiple camera angles would actually distract from the story rather than add to it. In this scene, let's say we're trying to portray an emotion of loneliness and mediocrity. Here's our first attempt at this scene, filmed with multiple camera angles. Check it out. Okay, so how did we feel? It was busy, right? Like our subject was in a rush or he was late. Definitely did not convey an emotion of loneliness because the camera was accompanying him the whole time. Let's try again using just one camera angle. Check it out. That felt a lot more lonely, didn't it? The frame was completely empty except for our main subject, thus portraying that he was all alone in a big, lonely world.
And I see this mistake a lot in amateur films. People filming close-up detail shots of things that aren't important and not adding anything to the story. Why would you film a close-up shot of his watch or shoes unless he's looking at his watch to show that he's late for something, or showing that his shoes are untied, which would eventually lead to him tripping and causing drama in that scene? If those detail shots are irrelevant to the scene, which is just him walking all alone down a street, then it will confuse your audience because they'll be thinking, wait, why did they cut to a close-up of his shoes? Was there a detail on the shoes that I was supposed to catch? Was there something important on his shoe? Why did they go to a close-up there? So don't add angles unnecessarily unless it's adding to your story and the emotion you're trying to convey. Now, one thing to be aware of when filming multiple camera angles is something they teach in film school called the 180-degree rule. The 180-degree rule is basically an invisible line that you draw in the middle of your side of the frame, and subject 2 is on the right side.
Okay, so this is your camera angles and different type of shots जो हम लोग फिल्म मेकिंग में समझते हैं. एडिटर्स को कैमरा एंगल्स एंड डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स पता होना चाहिए ताकि वो उसका यूज करके एक स्टोरी टेलिंग में कौन सा कैमरा एंगल्स कौन सा शॉट्स यूज करना है ये समझ में आए. एंड अभी आपने देखा होगा कि टू मच कैमरा एंगल्स या टू मच डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स यूज करने से भी एक्चुअल स्टोरी में इफेक्ट पड़ेगा या आपका स्टोरी में लाइक जो आपको दिखाना है वो नहीं दिखेगा. तो दिस इज डिपेंड कि एडिटर को ये सब कौन सा कैमरा एंगल्स कौन सा शॉट लेना है यूज करना है फिल्म लैंग्वेज ये पता होना चाहिए, राइट. तो आज के सेशन में इतना ही था. दिस इज ऑल कि मेरे को कवर करना था डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स और डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स क्या होते हैं, लॉन्ग शॉट, मिड शॉट. वैसे काफी डिफरेंट 60-70 टाइप के शॉट्स है और भी डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स है. बट इतने जो शॉट्स है जो हम लोग रेगुलर फिल्म मेकिंग में या रेगुलर लाइफ में यूज एडिट में यूज करते हैं या शूट पे यूज करते हैं. एंड मे बी नेक्स्ट सेशन में हम लोग देखेंगे डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कट्स क्या होंगे. एंड उसके बाद देखेंगे एक एडिटर एक फिल्म जब एडिट करता है तो डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा एंगल्स, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ कैमरा, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ शॉट्स और कट से लेके एक स्टोरी इम्प्रोवाइज कैसे करता है, एक स्टोरी टेलिंग कैसे करता है. तो एडिट इज अगेन इज नॉट जस्ट सॉफ्टवेयर आ गया. मे बी यू आर अ गुड ऑपरेटर बट एडिटिंग इज व्हाट इज स्टोरी टेलिंग, व्हाट इज स्टोरी का फ्लो. किस क्या आप एडिट कर रहे हो, क्यों एडिट कर रहे हो, क्यों कट लगा रहे हो और उसके पीछे मीनिंग क्या है. हर कट्स के पीछे रीजन होता है कि ये कट में क्यों लगा रहा हूँ, ये शॉट को मैं इतना टाइम के लिए यूज कर रहा हूँ, ये कैमरा एंगल में इसके बाद ये क्यों यूज कर रहा हूँ. बिकॉज उससे आपका स्टोरी रिलेट करेगा. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे हम लोग आज रुकेंगे. एनी क्वेश्चंस?